Let's get down to business to defeat the Huns. Did they send me daughters when I asked for sons? You're as sad as spanch I ever met, but you bet before we're through, Mister, I'll make a man out of you. You have to be a man with all the strength of a ray.
Are we in?
Yeah, we're in.
You can keep that in.
Oh, I'm keeping that in. That's the intro.
Welcome back to another episode of Talking Pictures with Tawana and Max. I'm Tawana.
I'm Max.
Today we're diving into a Disney classic that defied expectations, flipped tradition on its head, and gave us one of the most iconic heroines in animation history. Just for people who are listening to this, this is not the first time we've recorded this.
No, we attempted this a couple days ago.
And Max is looking at me right now because I said the exact same words. Because I wrote the fucking intro.
I was going to ask if you wrote this or if you got this from somewhere. You wrote this.
I wrote this.
It's a great intro.
I wrote this.
It's a great, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, I was thinking we need an intro every single time we start.
Okay.
But we'll get deeper into it. But this week, it's fucking Mulan, guys.
Mulan.
Which is my pick. We've been talking about animated movies for a while, and Max was initially, you were going to pick this.
Yes.
And you decided against it.
Yeah.
And you picked...
Some Like It Hot.
Some Like It Hot, because
the gender bendy aspects of it.
Yeah. Which, this is one of my favorite Disney animated movies. And as a 90s baby, I am glad to know that I was part of the era that brought us the best Disney animated movies.
Mm-hmm.
Your generation fucked it up, even though we're part of the same generation. But I consider us separate.
We're part of the same generation, and we both did so much to contribute to the making of these movies, our generations.
I mean,
all those little 2-year-olds working real hard in the animation shops.
Yes. And this came out in 1998, so a year after I was born.
Okay.
And I think we mentioned this before, which was how there were very low expectations for this film, which I don't quite know why. I think probably because it's a Chinese story.
It's a myth that is not familiar to Westerners.
Yeah.
Before this movie, obviously. There's the whole Chinese market and how it was received there, which is its own story. I think there's also something about the 90s for Disney were a rough time for their animation department. They had some really big successes with Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid, and then Aladdin and Lion King. Little Mermaid was the one that sort of kicked off the Disney animation renaissance, where it was sort of hit after hit for them.
Mm.
But then as they got into the 90s, I don't know exactly why people stopped responding as well to it. They either felt there was less effort put in, or they just weren't interested in it anymore.
Pocahontas, was that in the 90s?
That was the 90s. Mm. That might have been after Mulan. There was also Hunchback of Notre Dame. There was Aladdin there. What else was there? That might be the main stuff for the 90s.
Lion King...
That was 94.
No, not the first one. What's it called? 1.5?
Lion King 1.5.
Was that in the 90s or 2000s?
I think that was in the 2000s. 2004. Oh, we're going to have to talk about that movie at some point.
And there's Mulan 2, which was in the early 2000s as well.
I don't acknowledge the direct-to-video sequels.
I don't even think I've seen Mulan 2. Maybe I have.
Yeah.
Maybe I have. Like I've said before, I've got so much stuff in my head. I don't know what I've seen, what I haven't. It's sort of... Maybe I need to rewatch and be like, oh yeah, I've seen this before. Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast.
That was in the 90s.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Early
shit.
90s. It was the first animated film to get nominated for Best Picture.
Which, about the Oscars, I don't know how I feel about that distinction. It's
What's your problem? What's your beef?
because so this is what one of the reasons I wanted to choose Mulan initially. I think animation it's my favorite artistic medium for storytelling, and I think it's the most expressive by far because the creator has control over every aspect of the frame. And when it comes to voice acting is a lot more expressive than quote unquote grounded realistic acting because you're trying to convey emotions using just your voice, just the sound. So it's sort of more emotionally saturated. And animated movies fucking rule. They're amazing. Watching them is a spectacle. You're taken away to a whole other world that live action movies can't quite capture because they're grounded in our reality. And I think that is very, very special. And I think some of the best movies ever made were animated.
You know, probably one of the best and worst things that Disney has ever done was by Pixar.
Yeah.
Because Pixar, it was great in terms of they've been able to transcend sort of animated storytelling. But the byproduct of that is that Disney animated films haven't hit the same level.
It's interesting because Disney's animation department is different from Pixar.
Yes.
They use the same proprietary technology that they got from Pixar, but like Pixar makes Inside Out.
Which is brilliant, by the way. We're gonna talk about that one day.
Sure, it's a great
And
movie.
Inside Out too.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like it's the younger the generation below us. I feel like it's their Toy Story.
Yeah, that makes sense. Pixar makes things like Inside Out, Soul. What have they done recently? Recent Pixar movies.
Recent.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
See, this is the thing. Pixar does not mean as much to me now as it did in the early 2000s.
See, I do love Pixar.
Oh, yeah.
I do love Pixar. And probably in the past year, I've seen more Pixar films than I had in the past 10, 15 years. Just because I don't know why, but animated films haven't sort of resonated. I haven't sort of gone out to watch animated films.
Aside from Spider-Verse in the past few years.
Yes, but that's because it's Spider-Man.
It's amazing.
He's top two my favorite superheroes of all time. Second, actually. Batman is the first.
Yeah. And as animation, those movies changed the entire game.
Yes. But even in the past year when I have been sort of because I watched WALL-E when I was a kid.
Oh,
I didn't enjoy it, but it was because I wasn't paying attention to the bigger themes that he was talking about.
Sure.
So when I rewatched it during Christmas with my sister, I was like, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like, this is predicting the future.
I hope not, but in some ways, yeah.
We'll see. But it is that thing of, I think probably, maybe it's because I'm older now, that even the Pixar films, I can appreciate them on a different level than when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, I was looking for Pixar to be like Disney animated films.
Interesting.
Which they weren't.
Yeah, no. They're
completely different. There wasn't the music, which was a big part.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I didn't sort of gravitate towards it.
Huh.
Even like Toy Story, for example. I have not rewatched the Toy Story films. But when I did see them as a kid, I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan. I don't know why. I actually don't know why.
Fair enough.
Buzz Lightyear I liked because I was into the superhero shit.
Yeah.
But other than that, Woody didn't care.
Yeah. You care about Jessie?
Who's Jessie?
The girl cowboy.
I think that says everything, doesn't it?
Toy Story 2 fucking rocks. Oh, we're gonna deal with that at some point.
But that's even me saying that, I know they're great films.
Sure.
But when I watched them, I wasn't looking for the bigger themes. I was looking for the musical numbers, which is why Mulan for me is so fantastic, because it's great storytelling.
Yeah.
The story is amazing, but the musical numbers within it are also amazing.
The music's just so fantastic.
And let's get into it.
Okay.
Because the film starts with Shan Yu, the Huns,
Shan Yu.
attacking the Great Wall. And he's attacking China because they built this Great Wall, which was sort of like a symbol of power. And he was like, oh, you sort of challenging my power by building this Great Wall. And that's sort of his whole motivation. That's his whole motivation.
He just likes to conquer. He's evil. You can tell by looking at him, he's evil.
You know, he reminds me a lot. And Genghis Khan.
He's definitely sort of based on that.
Yeah.
I think he's supposed to be like Mongolian hordes, but I think this takes place before the Mongol horde Khanate empires were a thing. They call them the Huns, which is also like Attila the Hun, but that I think is closer to Eastern Europe than China. I don't know. I don't know my history that well. Genghis Khan's in there though. He's in the mix.
I don't know why, but I just thought of Genghis Khan.
Interestingly, Shan Yu is voiced by Miguel Ferrer, who, great actor. He's in like Traffic. He's in some great movies. He's also a very prolific voice actor. He voiced Vandal Savage in Young Justice.
Oh, did he?
Who is Genghis Khan? Vandal Savage was Genghis Khan.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Cool.
I wonder if he even realizes that.
He's dead. I'm so sorry. But
I really want to stop watching older films because everybody's dead.
yeah.
You find out that everybody's dead. It makes me so fucking sad. But yeah, you get to the Huns attacking the Great Wall, and this sets off the chain of events where the Emperor is asking for one male member of the family to join the army to fight. And there's a great line that the Emperor says, which was, a single grain of rice can tip the scale. One man could be the difference between victory and defeat. And it cuts to Mulan.
Eating a bowl of rice.
Which is fantastic. She's fantastic because that tells you everything. It's great. It signifies, as a kid, it signifies to you that this is your main character, yes, but they're about to go on this incredible journey and they're going to do something epic. Which I love. And I see, this is the problem because we recorded a bit before and now I have to repeat some of the things I said before.
Sure.
But the thing that I find so amazing about this film is how I'm a guy, yes. But if I had a daughter, and I do have a younger sister, and I showed her this film, and the reason I showed her this film is because to sort of show young girls a character who sort of has agency and sort of goes on this epic journey of doing something incredible where they're not sort of, and rest in peace to the dead, but they're not sort of like the Marilyn Monroe. They're not just trying to be pretty.
They're not trying to be pretty, and Mulan's motivation isn't to find a man to love her.
And that's so big because it starts the film with Mulan, starts with her being forced by the family to find a man. And it's the day to meet the matchmaker, and the whole family is prepared for this day because they're sort of worried that she's not going to find a man because she's kind of weird. And you can't see it, but I'm using quotation marks.
Yeah.
But weird. Just because she's different. She's not like the other women in her village. funny with the matchmaker scene when she meets the matchmaker. The first thing the first thing the matchmaker says is that you're too skinny.
Yeah.
But then the catharsis of all of it, when you see a character like that, is the slapstick comedy that ensues with the cricket. And just
Cricket.
Is there an I was about to say Pocahontas, Pinocchio.
Yeah, that was made
Pinocchio
by...
has a cricket as well.
Yes, Jiminy Cricket.
And that one talks, this one doesn't.
Yeah. Jiminy Cricket's a Jimmy Stewart parody. This cricket's just a cricket.
And there's a lucky cricket.
Yeah.
It's kind of cute.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
Kind of cute. But yeah, going past all of that, the army gets to Mulan's family's house, and the thing is, the father isn't in the best shape to go to war.
No, he's an old man. He seems like he's had some injuries over the years. He needs a cane to walk.
And it's a badass scene when he drops the cane.
Yeah.
And he just walks over to accept. You haven't seen Shogun, but there's something about in East Asian culture about honor.
Yeah.
That I really respect. Really sort of envy. Being a man of your word, dying by your sword. And I thought that scene was so powerful. And then the scene where he gets the sword out and he's sort of practicing, and you can see that he used to be a great fighter, but he just doesn't have it anymore.
No. Collapses. He just can't swing it.
And I thought it was absolutely beautiful because you see Mulan, but then it's a shadow of the father.
Yeah. This movie does a lot with shadows, which is interesting. They do it here. There's at one point when Mulan is watching her parents through a wall, and I think it's like her mom and her dad are sort of talking about how her dad now has to go to war again, and you can tell that her mom's upset about it, and it's all silhouettes. That pops up a lot, and I don't know if that's like a specific stylistic choice or if it was simply cheaper to animate certain things as silhouettes than full color, because like I said, this was a rough time for Disney animation. They did not have the same budget they had access to for things like The Lion King, which was kind of the peak. And so they're having to make some cuts, do some interesting stylistic things with their limitations.
See, that's the weird thing when you say that, because there's when they're in the mountain,
yeah,
facing up to the Hans, and the Hans are coming down. It looks absolutely beautiful.
It's epic.
It's epic.
And it's several years before Lord of the Rings did the same sort of thing with massive armies. I don't know exactly how many shortcuts or computer tools or things they used for that, but they did have to place like 1,000 dudes running over the mountaintop.
But it's see, when you see things like that, see, one of the reasons I love animation is that it looks like a painting.
Yep.
And when he does that, it's absolutely beautiful. And there was another part as well. I'm forgetting which one it is. I think it's when they get back to the palace with the emperor.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm forgetting which shot it is. Let me take a look at my notes.
There's a few incredible ones. It's when Mulan and her gang have just crossed over the mountain, looking over the imperial city, and it's just like a beautiful landscape. It reminds me of like old matte paintings that they would use for landscapes in old movies.
And it was also when the gang catch up to where the battle just happened.
Yeah.
And you see the damage that's just happened.
Gonna talk about that moment later. It's so
it
good.
was amazing. But Anyway, so the family, Mulan decides to take her father's place, which devastates her family, which is a big thing because her going in his place is dishonoring the family. And if they find out that it's a woman, I can't do that because you're not seeing this. She dies.
Yeah, apparently it's against the law, punishable by death. I don't understand why exactly, but it was the past. The past was not very nice to women.
See, I was thinking this. Do you want your women to be going to war?
From a purely utilitarian, the women are the ones who bear children, which means that if all the women die, then you have no more population to replace the ones that have died in your battles.
Exactly.
So that's one thing. But to make it like punishable by death seems like a weird.
No, that's even worse. Just send them back.
It's a weird That's because now you're wasting.
They're not even going to battle first. They're going to training.
Yeah.
As soon as you find out, just send them back.
Yeah, killing. So that's what I mean. Like I could see a kind of gross utilitarian point of view for this, but this is just. I mean, Jifu, who is the Imperial advisor played by James Hong, who's sort of the one that keeps harping on, but a woman couldn't do this. He's like a real incel character.
Okay, I love James Hong, by the way. He's in so many classics, by the way.
Yeah.
I feel like he was the go-to. We need an Asian man in this.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
And he was the most popular. You sort of instantly recognized him. You recognize his voice. But when you sort of go off, you know what I love when they realized that Mulan went off is when the grandma instantly knew that something wrong had happened.
Yeah, she just wakes up in the middle of the night.
And they see that's shout out to the Asian culture, yo. There is the white people, you don't have it anymore, but in African and Asian culture, it is a big thing about your ancestors and how you have this connection with your ancestors. And I loved how this film touched upon it. And it's so weird how obviously I've lived life a bit more, but watching it now and sort of seeing the similarities that and the things that they're talking about in this film that they touch upon with the ancestors specifically, how that sort of links to African culture as well. That's where you sort of go, oh, we're not that much different. There is something in sort of the human experience in the zeitgeist that is so universal. Today, a bunch of kids were playing, I don't even know what you call it.
Patty cake.
You call it patty cake.
Yeah.
Okay, in school, we called it something else, but I'm forgetting what the name was.
Huh.
But that game is so universal amongst all children.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating to me how somehow it doesn't matter where you are, kids are playing that. It's almost like an instinctive thing within us as human beings, like it's linked to that. And that's one of the things I feel sad for, especially with people in the West, like you, is that you guys don't have the connection to the spiritual world, because to you guys, it's like, oh, it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. It doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? Where's the science? Where's the evidence?
I feel like that's a bit of a simplification of things, but I understand what you're saying.
Where's the evidence?
Yeah.
But it's such a big thing in African and Asian culture.
Sure.
Where it is this thing that somehow is in you, and you grow up in it, and you get told stories as a kid about, what your grandpa and grandma were like, and you sort of have this connection with them. Like, my middle name is my grandpa's name.
Mm-hmm.
And I always knew that as a kid. And there was something about that. Like, even knowing that as a kid, it just changed how I behaved.
Mm.
But when they touch upon it in the film, because then the ancestors wake up, and they have like this own temple with all the statues with the ancestors, and they wake up and they're they're sort of deciding what to do and how to help Mulan.
Yeah. They're immediately bickering over whose fault it is that this has happened to their granddaughter.
It's like, oh yeah, it's your line. She gets it from you.
Yeah.
Which is such an honest thing to happen. Like, of course they would bicker about whose line is at fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your genes that have caused the situation. But then you meet Mushu.
Yes, Mushu. So, yes, George Takei, the voice of the first ancestor, the main lead ancestor, Mulan's dad has just prayed to them to help Mulan after she's run off. And then Mushu wakes up the rest of the ancestors. Mushu, Little Dragon, Eddie Murphy, comedy sidekick in an animated movie. We talked about this a little bit the first time we recorded, but the distinction between Mushu and between Donkey in the Shrek movies. Now, I love Shrek. The first two, at least, they're great movies.
Love Shrek.
Eddie Murphy's very, very funny in them. But Donkey is kind of the generalized non-name brand version of Mushu.
Yes. Yes.
Donkey is like they saw Mushu in this movie and was like, yeah, let's get Eddie Murphy to make jokes as an animated comedy sidekick in our movie, but let's not give him any character motivation or specific personality or attitude. Let's just have him say funny things here and there. And that's fine, but Mushu is much more interesting to me than Donkey. Donkey makes me laugh. Mushu, there's a story arc. I know who Mushu is, and I like him.
I don't think Mushu's in Mulan 2, you know.
That's a crime.
Now that I'm thinking of it, I don't think he's in it. Because I think there was a big thing. Because when I was a kid, I was big into Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Big into Eddie Murphy. And when I realized that it was him voicing Mushu, I loved it even more. But the like everything you said, it's a real character. He's got his own motivation, and you sort of learn that how he sort of caused the death of Fa Dang. So he got demoted, and he has to break the Stone Dragon out to wake because they want the Stone Dragon to go and help.
By the way, Fa Dang, the one who is holding his decapitated head.
Yes. He's like, thanks a lot. It made me wonder if Mushu was like a big dragon before, if he was always small.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe Mushu was the same size as the Great Stone Dragon.
And then he got demoted and they were like, nah, you're gonna go to a small dragon.
Yeah. Well, we see around the shrine, the ancestor's shrine, around the top, there's all these statues of, I think they're Zodiac guardians. Like Rabbit and Pig and Rat and Mushu's one of them, the dragon. But his podium is empty because he's been demoted to a hanging, like, incense brazier or something.
You said before how going into doing something culturally involved, like Mulan, if you're diving into the culture that deep, like dragons, I've seen many kung fu movies. There's dragons. What's it called? The Bruce Lee film.
Enter the Dragon?
Enter the Dragon.
I mean, there's not really a dragon in that, is there?
No, there isn't.
Oh.
But I do wonder how prominent sort of like the dragon is in Chinese culture.
I mean, there's certainly a lot of Chinese myths about dragons and things, and they show up in stories. Why I brought this up before we started recording was because this was a period in Disney's history where they started looking beyond the West for movies to adapt their stories from. Their whole history had basically been Brothers Grimm, European fairy tales, Hans Christian Andersen. Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid. Then they did Aladdin, which was not a Western story anymore, but still a story that did permeate into the West. 1001 Arabian Tales, Arabian Nights rather, and that has sort of that was one of the big fairy tales that made its way into Western Europe, as far as I'm aware. But something like Journey to the West, which is a very famous Chinese story, not a fairy tale, but it's a spiritual story about a Buddhist monk looking for answers and going on various adventures with the Monkey King, which has been adapted into all sorts of stuff, including Goku. It's all about the spirits of Buddhism and the sort of world there. That was not ever adapted by Disney or anything. That has had a few adaptations. I'm not sure if it's actually had any Western adaptations, not overt Western adaptations. So all of this to say, Disney was starting to look farther abroad for their stories. They did Lion King, which is set in Africa, but doesn't involve any actual people. But then they did Mulan, and then they did Hunchback of Notre Dame in there, which is French. But then they did Pocahontas, and that was also the same time that DreamWorks popped up and started doing things like Road to El Dorado and Prince of Egypt. Which, by the way, Road to El Dorado, that is high on my list. That was the alternate choice for Mulan when I first thought of an animated movie to talk about, because I love that movie. That was a tangent I went on. All of this to say, adapting based on cultural perspective when it comes to diving into another country's culture to adapt their stories. Enter the Dragon is... I don't think it was originally called Enter the Dragon.
So the West just used dragon for no reason. It's got nothing, because there's no dragon in it. I've seen the film. There's no dragon in it.
No.
And I don't think Bruce Lee's character is called Dragon.
Nope.
So what's the point in adding dragon? Unless the idea in the West is that dragon is synonymous with Chinese culture, because sort of that's what's been embedded in us.
The points that you said about adapting something based on a different country's cultural expectations of it. Like before we started recording, I asked, does the music in Mulan sound Chinese to you?
I said the first song.
Yes.
On a tour song.
Definitely. Make a Man Out of You is not so much. That's more
no
kind of traditional. Girl Worth Fighting For, kind of.
Yes, with the different characters.
A few things. But throughout all the orchestration of it, they put a lot of emphasis on using Chinese instruments or things that at least Westerners associate with Chinese instruments. My problem. I haven't heard enough actual Chinese music written and recorded in China throughout the years to really know if this is an accurate representation.
Well, you refuse to go and watch Shen Yu.
But that's like the money for that goes to, that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other thing. Can't have those people hunting us down. 45 minutes and 40 seconds, Shen.
I've seen it, by the way. Just to put it.
Wait, you watched it?
Yeah.
You went and saw it?
Yeah.
How was it?
Good. Very good.
It seems pretty
Extremely
cool.
Good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Just want to put that out there.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, then the same thing could be said about this movie in Aladdin and the way Disney approached making their stories more quote-unquote exotic. So I don't know how much of this movie is a really accurate depiction of Chinese culture and a Chinese attitude towards storytelling, or if it's that filtered through a Western lens because Disney knows that they have to make a profitable movie in the West. Either way, I think it's a fantastic movie, but...
I think it's a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say this. Number one, I would love to speak to a Chinese person to hear their perspective.
Yeah.
Number two, I remember I saw it was World Book Day, and I saw a little girl from Naples, which is in China. She is Asian, but she's from Naples, and she was dressed as Mulan. And I thought that was pretty cool because she clearly identified with Mulan the most. It's almost like with my sister, she would she used to have a Barbie doll, which I hated because it was a blonde white girl. And I was like, why didn't you get a black doll? And whenever she would like play games, her character would be white.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, no, make the character black. Now, none of this, I'm not trying to be like one of those people who's like, oh yeah, do this, and like it's not even about that. It's just the fact, like, I just want that little girl from Naples, my younger sister, to be happy with who they are. To not look at like a blonde white girl and think, oh, that's the standard.
Yeah.
I want them to be like, no, I'm enough. I'm perfect as I am. And that's all it is. And I think Mulan is perfect because evidence, the young Naples girl clearly identifies with Mulan. And the movie came out.
Naples or Nepal?
Nepal.
Okay.
I said Naples, not Nepal.
Napoli. This Italian girl really loves Mulan. But yeah, I know what you mean.
But we digress. So Mushu gets, he takes over the place of the Stone Dragon.
He's supposed to wake the Stone Dragon, the powerful guardian, to help Mulan. He breaks the statue, I guess killing the spirit, and puppets around its desecrated head.
If it's that easy to kill them, they ain't worth it.
Fair enough.
If you just break the statue and that's it, they ain't worth it. What kind of spirit are you?
He hadn't been woken up yet. I mean, if you get killed in your sleep, is that a fair fight?
Do you always stay dreaming?
If you're a statue?
If you get killed in your sleep?
I probably not. I assume you just die. Your brain has to be alive to dream. As far as we know.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know. Maybe we're always gonna dream. I would love that. If that's death, I would love that. Just stay in your dream. You don't even know you're dead. You're just dreaming all the time.
I guess that's not so bad. It could turn into a bit of a nightmare, but
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you always get out of it. You just move on to the next. Because you're already dead.
Sure.
But the Stone Dragon gets destroyed, and Mushu takes over his place, and his whole motivation is to prove that he is worthy to be the main guy, to be that dragon again, which is great motivation.
Yeah, he got something to prove.
He's got something to prove. Kind of similar to Mulan as well, where they're both trying to prove something. And they go off onto this journey, and then they meet up, and it's a great scene where Mushu's trying to be terrifying and great, whilst Mulan is trying to practice how she's going to pretend to be a man. And all the tropes that she's got of how men interact. I think there was, maybe still is, when I look at younger boys, and even when I think back to when I was younger, there is that thing of how men interact, where it is about like trying to prove you're a man, like you're the big dog, you're the alpha, like it is that thing.
this is one of the big things I wanted to talk about this movie, about how it treats performative gender. It's one of the reasons why Some Like It Hot came into my head, because it's similar ideas. So this movie clearly has a lot of admiration for drag.
Yeah.
Drag has been a big inspiration for a lot of Disney's history. I think some elements of drag were used for Cruella de Vil. Ursula from Little Mermaid is specifically based on an actual drag queen. And
Disney always putting the gay agenda in our films.
Kinda. I mean, this movie, I think, does a really amazing job of looking at gender and examining the sort of ridiculous aspects of it, while still keeping a mainstream lens that, at least at the time, from what I'm aware, didn't put up a lot of homophobes' red flags of like, the drags are trying to convert our kids and rah, rah, rah. It's just sort of it's just a very like good look at it from a mainstream sort of lens. There's, I mean, obviously the whole plot is based on Mulan doing drag. Harvey Fierstein, who voices the tough one in it.
Yeah.
You know, I can't remember his name. Harvey Fierstein is an actor and playwright who got very famous for this play, the Torch Song trilogy, where he it was semi-autobiographical, where he played a drag queen throughout the show.
Oh, okay.
And he's a openly queer sort of icon in Hollywood.
Is he dead?
No, I think he's still alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not sad. That's good.
Yeah. What a weird way to say that.
No, it's because prior you mentioned the other guy and you said, he's dead.
Yeah, that was sad.
Yeah.
No, I think Harvey Fierstein's still kicking it. But so yeah, the gender being kind of fake and made up by human society. Animals don't have gender. They don't perform the gender. They perform sort of mating instinct and things. But when it comes to projecting manhood or projecting womanhood, that is a thing that humans kind of made up for ourselves, and it changes between cultures. So this movie is taking such a great look at what it means to have to project gender and how to use that in different situations to achieve things. Mulan has to project herself as a man, so she acts all tough and lowers her voice and acts gross and spits and things. Later on in the movie, they have to dress up in drag as women to trick the Huns and use stereotypically feminine sexuality and things to get the upper hand. It's just really cool, and it's ahead of its time.
Yeah, it is. It is. I love that scene, by the way. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that. I love that scene, but it's when Mulan enters into the camp, and Mushu's the comedy in this is coming straight from Eddie Murphy, because when Mushu's bouncing off of Mulan, it's absolutely great, and you get the best example when they enter the training camp, because Mushu's sort of giving pointers on what Mulan should do, but it's going terrible, and they end up in a big fight with the three other characters. I'm forgetting the characters' names, but you've got the skinny one, the big one, and the short, tough one with the Napoleon complex. But
Yao, Ling, and Chen Po.
You trying to be racist?
No, those are their names.
Okay.
Harvey Fierstein, the tough one, is Yao. Ling is the skinny one, and Chen Po's the big one.
Okay. But it's there's again more slapstick comedy, but it's when we meet the young soldier who has to train them, Li Shang, who is the son of the general.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about Li Shang, because he is the son of the general, there is this thing of nepotism that he's only in the position because of his father. So he has to prove himself. Again, another character that has to prove themselves.
Yep.
Because he really wants to go to war.
He wants the glory.
He wants the glory. But in order for him to get the opportunity, he has to train these men to be ready for war. And you already see, I mean, he's in cartoon standards. He's good looking. He's tall.
Yeah.
He's in shape. He's been trained his whole life for this opportunity.
He's a fucking man.
Okay, Max. Calm down. Calm down. He's okay. It's not that good.
I mean, he's the exact epitome of what the whole song is about.
Which brings us to the song. I want to talk about the song.
The best fucking song Disney has ever made.
Is that the best song they've ever made?
No other Disney song makes me feel as hyped up as this one. I love Disney's got so many great songs. Part of Your World. That's a great hesitation. Well done, Max. Great listing.
See, I love Cinderella's dream is a wish your heart makes. I love it. It's not the same as I'll Make a Man Out of You. But the reason I love that song is just the message in it.
Yeah.
But this is a fantastic song. And there's fantastic songs throughout the film.
There's only like 5 of them.
Yeah, there's not that many.
6. No, because True to Your Heart doesn't count because that's not actually in the movie. That's
at the end. That's at the end. Because you've got Honor to Us All, which is all the women singing it at the beginning whilst they're preparing Mulan. You've got Reflection, which is Mulan's solo.
Oh, and we went right past it, but goddamn, it's great.
You know, we'll hit on it in a second. I'll Make a Man Out of You, A Girl Worth Fighting For, and then True to Your Heart.
It's not a 90s movie without a shitty song that's barely connected to the movie and over the credits.
It's, you know, it is what it is. It's at the end. It's at the end.
You don't have to listen to it.
You don't have to. You know, you're walking out of the theater by then.
Yeah.
You know, you're already in a good mood. You feel good. But Reflection, I need to just put up the lyrics. I'm not even going to try and sing it. But this song epitomizes everything about Mulan.
This is her I Want song. Alan Menken, who wrote the music for this movie,
was, I think he's still alive, involved in so many great Disney films.
So many great Disney films. I think he was the one who sort of put together the idea for the formula of musical structure, specifically Disney movie musical structure, but it can apply to other things too. And the second song is usually the one that is the I Want song, which is the main character's song where they give their motivations to the audience. Part of Your World in Little Mermaid. She wants to be part of that world instead of the one she's in. Lion King. I just can't wait to be king. You can't wait to be king. Mulan, Reflection, which is... I mean, the title is less overt than the others, but it's very short, and the lyrics are very straight and to the point, and it's so beautiful.
Now I see if I wear a mask, I can fool the world, but I cannot fool my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Who is that girl I see staring straight back at me? When will my reflection show who I am inside?
When will my reflection... Oh, it's beautiful.
It's... And I don't... It's not... I think Christina Aguilera sings at the end.
Yeah.
But I don't think... I'm forgetting her name.
Ming-Na Wen.
Yeah, I don't think
Mulan.
she sings it.
No, Lea Salonga is the singing voice of Mulan. Done a lot of musical theater, Broadway stuff. West End.
Yeah. It's a great performance of the song. But I'll Make a Man Out of You is fantastic because it goes through the training montage of the whole, well, them preparing, because it starts off with Li Shang shoots an arrow at the top of this stump and tells them to get it, and everyone's struggling to get it. And as the song plays and you see them struggling, you see Mulan struggling, but as part of any good montage is they get better, you see Mulan get better. After she's told to leave, then she ends up grabbing the arrow. And it's that thing of, the song's called I'll Make a Man Out of You, but it's a woman who grabs the arrow first.
This movie is taking a real look at how ridiculous performative gender is, and especially when you're in a society which is so strict and rigid of gender norms. Everyone is basically doing drag to try to perform what the society expects them to be like. So her entire motivation is, when will she be the person she actually sees inside of her? She is the first one to check all the boxes that make a man out of you wants a man to be. Swift and strong and fierce. And yet she isn't a man. She uses her smarts to deal with it. She doesn't just brute force her way through it like the idiots around her. She links the weights together and climbs. She trains and uses discipline.
Because women are smarter than men. I believe this. I stand by this. I'm sorry. I know women, but I'm willing to admit women are smarter than us. They're much more mature than us at a way earlier age. I don't know how we somehow conned the world into thinking that women were supposed to stay in the kitchen. But I'm always fascinated by how, especially when you watch this film, because as a kid, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but as a kid, one of my best friends was my cousin. And she was, we were the same age. And I would always see her on the weekends. And I would always try to like stay over her, so I would pretend I was sleeping when my dad was about to leave. And he'd leave me and I would stay over the weekend, and then I would go home on the Sunday. But we'd always go off on adventures, and it was always me and her. And she was much more extroverted. She was much more naughty, if that's the best word. Mischievous, yes, that's the better word. She was much more mischievous, but we always got into adventures with one another, and it was always good. And I think because as a kid, I don't know why, but as a kid, I had difficulty sort of talking to people. Not necessarily that I couldn't.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel the need to.
Yeah.
But with her, I could. And it was always that thing of like, with her, I would talk to her the most. And maybe because we were kids and we like sort of, I don't know, go on these adventures together as kids would, you know? But it was always that thing of like, I sort of looked at, I didn't grow up thinking like women were lesser than.
Yeah.
It was never sort of like a thing I grew up with. It was almost, and it's a lot. Well, I say that, but then you look at how some men treated women. But as a kid, it is sort of like especially in Africa, is sort of like a thing, like you revere the women in the family. You revere your mother and, you know, the older women. And then you've got your father. It's like they're big, they're like on the throne and all that shit. So watching Mulan, it was always that thing of like, oh yeah, That's pretty cool. Women can do that too. It was never like, oh, this is like feminism wasn't even in my mind. Same way racism didn't affect me because everyone else was black. It was only when I moved here when I went, oh shit, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah.
But it's just shit you realize as you get older. But Mulan being the first to get the arrow, like you said, it's just how it flips things on its head. How the performative gender roles that they're all sort of portraying, and probably Li Shang. Yeah, Li Shang is probably the one who's not performing.
No, he's pretty much himself.
Yeah, he's solidly himself, and you can see why Mulan falls for him other than, well, anyone else. Granted, that's the story.
Yeah.
That is the story.
He's the closest thing to a prince in this movie.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But it is that thing of like him not being performative, him being
true to your heart. True to your heart.
But he is in some aspects he is sort of vulnerable.
Yeah. He's trying to prove himself. We learn that he kind of got his position through nepotism. It's a little jab by James Hong at one point. I mean, and he's clearly very capable, but if he wasn't the general's son, he might not be in the position that he's in. So he is kind of someone who is everything that people see him as, but he still has to prove it to them.
Yes.
To validate it. Validate it.
Sort of has to earn it.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, because in the industry that we're in, a lot of nipple talk goes around. But I sort of look at those people, and people look, I think the general view from the outside, and it's like you look at them and you're like, oh, it's easy for them. They're getting the opportunities. But then it is that thing of like, yeah, they're getting the opportunities, but they're not having to work. And it's that thing of like, okay, I've got this opportunity. Now I have to prove myself.
Yeah.
Because it can easily go away.
Yeah.
And it's until you prove yourself, like there must be so many Nepo babies out there that have had the opportunity and just haven't taken it because they couldn't hack it.
Yeah.
But there was a great scene afterwards, after the montage it's not a pool, it's like a pond.
The lake, yeah, the pond.
A lake that the Mulan goes to take a bath, and it's sort of like her time to be a woman for the first time. And all the men show up, but it's the first three men first.
Yeah.
And it's the hijinks ensue where like, oh yeah, they want to play as men do.
Yeah.
I never understood this. I've never been a fan of this. This idea that somehow we all get naked and it's a free-for-all.
I mean, roughhousing, dude certainly like to roughhouse a lot.
I played rugby. I didn't like it then. No.
So this is. Have you noticed a certain undertone of homoeroticism in rooms with a lot of quote unquote jocks, athletes? Because I've definitely noticed that over the years. It's not everywhere, but
no, I have noticed it.
Yeah,
I have noticed it. Like there was even, I remember when we were in high school, especially around the time when puberty started to hit, and we were starting to get muscles. We like compare each other's bodies, and shit like that. But as I got older, I was like, why are we doing this? Like, what is, like, besides the whole thing of like trying to prove that like, oh, I'm better than you, which is always like the man thing. There was absolutely no reason to be doing it.
No, but suddenly you were growing and awakening to this whole new world of performative gender, and it became a competition.
Everything becomes a competition when you're a man. There's a no, it's not for this podcast.
Okay.
It's a different discussion. But Mulan ends up in the lake with Li Shang, and you think, oh, this is the moment. But Li Shang knows Mulan as a guy, so he can't be. But he's trying to be vulnerable. It's like, yeah, just trying to chat. But this ain't it.
He can't go. I don't know. I feel like Li Shan is probably bi because he seems pretty into Ping as Mulan presents herself.
Yeah,
he's pretty into Ping. I just think that it's ancient China and they probably didn't look so nicely on homosexuality. So, but I think he's exploring himself.
I think he doesn't know.
He's a bit confused.
No, because he's like, you're supposed to be a guy, but like you're behaving like a woman.
But also, she's the most manly out of anyone he's training.
Yeah, but she's different. She's smart.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. She's smart. I think if she was dumb, and the rest of them, he wouldn't.
Sure.
He wouldn't be interested. Is the fact that she's smart and she's smart because she's a woman. She's bringing a different perspective into it, which is what he's attracted to. But it's afterwards the forgery of the letter from the general.
Yes, Mushu decides that if they just sit around there training the whole time, they're never going to win any glory. And Mushu, in order to prove himself to the ancestors, needs to make Mulan into a war hero. So he forges a letter to send this group of trainees off to war to help fight. Very risky, very selfish, could get a lot of people killed.
I didn't even know how long they'd been training for.
I feel like it's a couple months.
I guess. But still, is that enough? Do you need a couple of months before you go to war?
At least a couple of months. I would need several years.
Yeah. But then it brings us to the next number. A girl worth fighting for.
Yeah.
Which
great number.
I love this number, but then it goes into the thing of like what men look for in women. Because some of the men want a woman who can cook, a woman who can clean. Does the tough one want a woman who can fight? I'm forgetting. What woman does he want?
He wants a girl who will marvel at his strength, adore his battle scars. Chen Po wants, he doesn't care what she'll wear or what she looks like. It all depends on what she cooks like. Beef, pork, chicken. And when it's doing this, some of the musical numbers break into like sort of watercolor calligraphy stylized sequences.
Yeah.
And this is one of those sequences where they're sort of going through their fantasies, and it ends on Chen Po's, and it's all these watercolor things of a cow and a pig and a chicken pop up when he's talking about these foods, and then it pops back into reality. It fades back into reality, and it's these three statues of a bull, a pig, and something else, and that's a reference to Journey to the West. This folktale. Yeah, it was a cool little folktale. They turn into like the pig, the bull, and the Buddha, or not the Buddha, but the monk, and anyway, yeah, cool little reference.
I wanna paler than the moon, with eyes that shine like stars. My girl will marvel at my strength, adore my battle scars. I don't remember what the other guy says.
I couldn't care less what she'll wear or what she looks like. It all depends on what she cooks like. Bet the local girls thought you were quite the chart. We don't have to do all of it.
No, we're not gonna do all of this. Matter of fact, you could cut that out if you want to.
No,
but it's what kind of girl are you willing to fight for? The independent girl that you mentioned before?
Yeah.
That's the girl you're willing to fight for?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Why?
No, I'm just good for you.
Yeah.
As long as you know the girl you're willing to fight for. But it ends.
What do we want? A girl worth fighting for. All the soldiers join in. It's joyous. Everyone's marching and their spirits are up. What do we want? A girl worth fighting for. Wish that I had a girl worth fighting. Drop. Stark silence. The burned village.
And it looks beautiful. It's tragic, but
Yeah.
it looks beautiful. Goes back to the thing I said earlier. A painting. And you see these remnants of this battle that happened and occurred here. And you discover that the general was there. So Li Shang's dad died.
Mm-hmm. And we also find a little doll that we know a little girl had. And
Oh yeah, that Shan Yu had before. We didn't mention this, but Shan Yu had before, and he was like, "We need to take this back to the girl who owns it." And I guess he did.
return her doll. And then it got that moment when the song just cuts out and it switches to everyone just being shocked and destroyed. It works. It hits.
Yeah, it does. And I remember the first time I watched it, even I was like, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Because then that's when they encountered the Huns. And again, God, it looks so beautiful. When I said it before, the Huns are coming down. But it's what Mulan does as they're facing up to the Huns, because Li Shang's willing to die now. He's ready to die.
Yeah.
He's about to go. He's, oh, guts and glory. This is where we die. Mulan's like, fuck that. We're gonna play it smarter. And she takes the cannon and fires it at the fucking snow on the mountain to cause an avalanche. Which is the smartest thing to do because there was too many and they had too few. And they survive, and she saves everybody. Well, she saves Li Shang specifically.
So this one thing I can't tell. Do all the other trainees die too?
They somehow become less.
I think a lot of them get either killed by the Huns or swept away in the avalanche because it's just our main gang left.
Yeah, but then again, you don't really see the others.
No.
So it is that sort of trouble, like, oh yeah, they're gone.
They're gone. You don't have to think about them. When they're doing the training montage and make a man out of you, we see the whole landscape in a beautiful stylized background, and there's like hundreds of them sprawling out. But don't think about them anymore.
And that's when they discover that Mulan is
a woman, as James Hong says. He's real up in arms about it. He's a real incel, this guy.
I don't understand what his beef is.
He just hates women.
But his ultimate goal, which I don't know if it's to impress the emperor or like, why be such a dick? He's a dick to everybody.
Yeah.
And he can't even fight.
No, he doesn't help. He's the pencil pusher.
He's just tagging along. I hate people like that. A lot of talk, no action.
Yeah.
But Li Shang spares Mulan's life, a life for a life.
Mm-hmm.
And it is... What does Mulan say? She says something.
She's still the same person that he trusted all this time. So why does he feel betrayed now?
Yes.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. And it's a great question, because even I was thinking it, like, oh, because it's a woman?
It's really bucking the societal standard.
But I didn't even feel like Li Shang wanted to do it. I mean, he found the get out.
Yeah.
By sparing her life because she saved his life. But I feel like he's even questioning those societal ideas in that moment. And if James Hong wasn't there, he probably wouldn't have cared.
Not as much. Yeah.
He would have felt betrayed, yes, but he wouldn't have cared.
Yeah.
But he brings us to I found it funny, Mushu, where he sort of spills the truth that he wasn't actually sent, and he sort of was demoted, and another dragon was supposed to be there, and the cricket admits that he's not a lucky cricket, which I don't think we mentioned, like the cricket being lucky. And the grandma said it's a lucky cricket.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this sort of trope that goes along in the film. And the guy comes back and forth during different points in the film about whether the cricket's lucky or not. But the cricket admits it's not lucky. He's like, "You're not lucky, cricket? You lied to me.
You lied to me." Looks at the horse and says, "What's next? You're going to say you're a sheep?" Because he's got a whole thing with a horse where he doesn't recognize that it's a horse. He keeps calling it a cow throughout the movie. All right, Bessie, let's get a move on. Move it, heifer. Great.
I feel like, wasn't heifer like isn't that a slur?
I mean, it got used sort of derogatorily for women at some point over history, but originally a heifer is like a cattle, a female cow or something.
Oh, okay, that's why it was used as a slur.
Yeah.
Okay. Because afterwards, Mulan sees that the Huns survived and they're going towards China, and she wants to warn everybody. And when she arrives, she's trying to warn everybody, but nobody's listening because she's a woman. And she starts to see how women are treated. Which we all knew.
Yeah.
Even the bystanders are trying to like, what the fuck is this woman talking about? Like, get out of the way. For no reason whatsoever. And I loved, because the big action piece at the end happens in front of everybody.
Yeah.
So everybody sees it. And you see this woman facing up to Shan Yu. Even at the end when the emperor bows down to Mulan, it's in front of everybody. And everybody bows down to her.
Yep.
That was dope.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. And all of China, because it's a celebration, looks beautiful as well. Oh, God. I'm getting goosebumps from that moment. Mulan returns to... Actually, do you want to talk about that final battle?
Sure. I can sort of go through the main bullet points of it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, she gets to the Imperial City. She's trying to warn people. She catches up to Li Shang and the gang and tries to say, "Listen, I need you to trust me." And he's still kind of blowing her off. And they get all the way up to the palace, and the Emperor's going to give out some medals. And then, the dancing dragon costume turns out was Huns in disguise the whole time. Very well coordinated. They must have put in the effort to learn that choreography, because that's not just... Those costumes are difficult to operate. Like, it's a whole form to it.
Yeah, but they're Huns.
But that dragon thing is a Chinese art form. They must be very cultured Huns.
I thought they were.
Yeah, seems like it.
I mean, they look like vampires.
They look so goddamn evil. This is what I mean. With the animation of it, you can indicate that someone's evil just by making them look evil. You can draw them very angular and gray and with all these shadows and stuff. And of course, you can subvert that to do a spin on a character. But this is just, no. You need to understand shorthand. We're not going to give the characters much... I'm not going to give the villains much backstory or motivation. Just know that they are the bad guys. You can tell by looking at them. Listen to his voice. He's obviously the bad guy. They jump the emperor, they beat his guards, and they take him hostage into the palace. And so they've got to get in there and get the emperor back. And Mulan rocks up with the gang and says, hey guys, I've got an idea. And has them all dress up in drag as these concubines to the empire. Which the existence of concubines in a Disney movie is interesting. This movie has a lot more implied nudity than any other Disney movie, I think.
Which, funnily enough, I thought kids wouldn't know what a concubine is.
No. But as an adult, knowing what it is, it's like,
It's a joke for the adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the nice old emperor that gives all these great wisdom sayings, but he's also got a horde of concubines.
Yeah.
That's a bit, okay.
Which makes sense.
It makes sense, it's period accurate. So anyway, they dress up as the concubines. The Huns fall for it. The falcon, Shen Yu's falcon, that is an explicitly evil-looking bird. No bird has ever looked as evil as that bird.
What about the bird from Aladdin?
Iago?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he just kind of looks funny because it's Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
He's like a dorky parrot.
Yeah.
Jafar, you gotta do this. No, this is just an evil bird that doesn't talk. Mushu flames it, turns it into a roast chicken. They beat the guards. They've got, at one point, Ling is flirting with one of the guards and a fruit falls out of his corset, so he's only got one boob now. And the Hun is like, what? And one of the other Huns is like, you idiots, they've tricked us. And then they beat them. But I also like when they're getting into the palace, like they're dressing up in drag, and it's like a really cool moment because it's like Mulan's got this great idea, it's gonna work. They start reprising the music to make a man out of you.
Yes.
So it's, all right, you're gonna epitomize manliness by forgetting the stereotypes that a man has to be, dressing up as a woman and playing into your femininity to get the upper hand. It's great, it's poetic, boom. They get up there, Mulan gets in, Li Shang, who doesn't dress up in drag, by the way.
No, you can't do that.
No,
you can't do that. He's the
apparently not. He's too secure in himself for that, or insecure, or whatever you want to say. He just doesn't do it. He needs to keep those pecs out.
Yeah.
He fights Shan Yu. He gets kidnapped for a second. The Emperor is sort of spared. It's a whole fight. They get up onto the roof. Mulan does some great action, flippy shit to get out of the way. She sees a tower with fireworks in it. Tells Mushu to go do what he needs to do, and Mushu's immediately on the same page. He goes over to the firework tower, freaks the guards out, does a Batman impression. Which is the thing that we talked about when we first recorded this. You told me apparently Eddie Murphy was supposed to play Batman at one point.
Yes, which is true. We found out it's true.
It was between him and Bill Murray for Batman and Robin, and neither of them wanted to be Robin.
Which, yeah, that makes sense.
Understandable.
Yeah.
But anyway, he does the Batman reference. Mulan does some sick-ass shit where she's fighting Shan Yu. He's got his sword, but she catches it in a fan that she's been using as part of the disguise, twists it out of his hand, starts fighting him, pins him down, and blows him up with a firework.
There was a great moment when Shan Yu realizes that Mulan is Ping from the mountain.
The soldier from the mountain.
He doesn't even care that it's a woman.
Oh, no.
He doesn't discriminate.
No.
He just wants to kill her. I love that.
He's got his priorities in order.
Yeah, he's
not
like,
about all this bullshit.
We're not gonna waste time be like, oh, woman? No, I'm just gonna kill you.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Is that the end?
That's basically it. She blows him up, saves the day. The Emperor gives her a medal and gives her one more great sage wisdom saying, which is, the flower that blooms in adversity is the most beautiful of all. There's another one he says earlier, right when Shan Yu tries to get him to surrender and surrender China to him. And he says, no matter how the wind howls, the mountain cannot blow it. He speaks almost exclusively in wise sayings.
But that line, because he says it to Li Shang as Mulan is leaving.
Yeah.
A flower that blooms in adversity is the most beautiful and rare of all.
And Li Shang is like, what? It's like, you don't meet a girl like that every dynasty.
Which is true.
Yeah.
Which is true. If you get an opportunity to get a Mulan, you grab a Mulan.
You hold on to that Mulan.
You don't let go. Jay-Z knows. Jay-Z knows. Mulan ends up back home, and the family's just happy to see her. And the first thing she says to her father is that, I'm sorry I ran away, blah, 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 blah. And he's just like, I'm just happy you're alive.
Yeah.
And I love that because none of that mattered. The father really, when you put things into perspective, the father didn't really care who she married. It was just about making sure that she was safe and happy. And not only does she end up saving China, she ends up with fucking Greek Adonis.
Yeah.
Because he shows up and the grandma loves him. He's like, oh, I'm gonna go to the next war.
Yeah.
She's probably gonna be dead by then. But that's neither here nor there. And we wait until Mulan 2.
That movie does not exist. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Any points?
This movie ends. The ending feels a little bit tacked on because Li Shang shows up and he's like, "Could I stay for dinner?" And they're all like, "Hell yeah!" And it's all happy. And then it's the late '90s and it's an animated movie, so it's a big cartoon dance number playing
the ancestors.
This '90s ass dance music, and the ancestors all dancing along, and it's like, okay, what are we doing here? This has nothing to do with anything else. There's no indication that this dance party. This is pure gags, but it didn't feel like it. It was a bit tacked on. It just kind of ends.
It's the end.
It just ends. Like, and now we gotta finish. Everyone, get your spirits up. Get the fuck out of the movie theater. Cut to credits with Christina Aguilera slow, way too riffy version of Reflection and To the Eye. Any specific points? What do I got? There's several moments that I really just enjoy. Most of Mushu's one-liners. Eddie Murphy is really great in this movie, and I don't know if it's because Mushu has motivation and attitude and personality, or if it's just because he's on something different here, but he's just so funny all the time.
I think Eddie Murphy would sort of, and I've got no evidence to back this up, it's just pure opinion. But if you look at Donkey, especially in the first two Shreks, as you get further along, and it's not just Donkey, but it's also Mike Myers' Shrek.
Yeah.
Where, and this is one of the reasons I'm fucking scared about. Is it Shrek 5 or Shrek 6?
I think it's 5.
Where they're just coming back.
Yeah.
And it's a paycheck. There's no real passion into it.
They're old. They're getting tired.
Yeah. But even at that time, it's like, Mushu, you think at the time Eddie Murphy did Mushu, it's 98. Eddie Murphy is like at the heights. He's been at the top.
He, at that point, had been the highest paid actor in Hollywood.
And he's got top billing in this film.
Yeah.
He's got to bring his A game. And I think he's just in that mood where he everything's hidden. Everything's hidden. Even those moments where Mushu isn't necessarily being funny, but it's more character filled.
Yeah, when he's depressed and defeated feeling.
He even brings those parts.
He's voice acting. He's really voice acting.
And I think it just goes down to motivation.
Yeah.
How much motivation someone has. And I think that's all it is. Compared to the Shrek 1, it's okay. It doesn't get annoying. It's when you get to Shrek 3.
Yeah. And it does really feel like, okay, we get it.
Because even with Shrek 2, he's got Antonio Banderas' Puss.
Yeah.
and they're bouncing off each other, which is fantastic. And that great number, "Living la vida loca." Yeah. And he gets to sing because Eddie Murphy, and I don't know if you know this, Eddie Murphy loves to sing. He's a little bit like Jack Black.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, motivation.
Great stuff. There's one point where they're in the training camp, and I think he's having some back and forth with Cricky, and he says, "And I do not scream like a girl." And then a panda pops up, and he says, "Ah!" Screams like a baby girl. But then, so that panda is seared into my brain when he's dressed up in the armor, riding the panda to try to deliver the message to Shifu, saying that they have to head out. And Shifu's like, "What? Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm a great general. Look at me. Here's a letter. You got to get out there." And the panda just starts walking away and climbs up the tree as Mushu is still looking backwards down the panda. And as he disappears into the tree, something about that is so funny, the way it's animated. It's so smooth, the transition from him being in control to riding a backwards panda. It's seared into my brain. I've had that clip in my brain since I was like 6, and I can play it back over and over again, and it's never not funny to me.
Mulan.
Great movie.
It's a great movie. It's a classic.
I've got a few things about the animation I want to talk about. Do you have anything else beforehand?
No, get into the animation.
All right.
Because, yeah.
Yeah. I love animation. It's the best. I'm a nerd about it. I believe the first, at least the first Disney movie to incorporate CG elements into the 2D hand-drawn animation was Beauty and the Beast. It's the song Beauty and the Beast. And they're dancing around in the great ballroom, and there's the chandelier. That is a CGI environment that they're animating the characters in. Because when you're having big sweeping camera movements, it is very difficult to animate that wide shifting perspective in 2D. And it's much easier to create a 3D environment to move a 3D virtual camera around in, and then animate the individual characters in that background. By the late 90s, that technology had been advanced and used a lot more. I think Toy Story had come out by the time this movie came out. So
yeah, it came out in 95.
Yeah, 3D animation was a long way on. Disney didn't own Pixar yet. But this movie uses a lot of CG in the environments. A lot of the environments are hand-drawn, 2D animated, sort of watercolor backgrounds. But then certain environments are 3D. So like the Imperial Palace, when Mulan's moving through the crowd, trying to get to the Empire, trying to get people's attention, that is a 3D environment that 2D animated people are pasted into.
Okay.
Which is why the perspective and the sort of parallax shifting moves around so much. Same thing in the mountains, I think. And then a lot of objects, like wagons and some other moving objects, the fireworks, the Great Stone Dragon's head when Mushu's waving it around. Those are also 3D animated in a 2D environment. The way that you can tell, if you watch it again, is that the 3D objects have shading on them.
Ah, yes.
So like shadows, not just displayed onto the environment around them, like casting a shadow onto the ground, which the characters have a lot of, and the movie uses it. Again, I don't know if it's a stylistic thing or also it's because silhouettes are easier to animate than full color. It takes less time and money. But specific individual objects with actual shading on them are going to be 3D animated, whereas all the other characters, the 2D animated ones, don't have shading on them, which was the Disney style. But if you compare that to something like Road to El Dorado or Prince of Egypt, they put a lot of work into shading all of those characters. And there's something about that shift that makes the shading, to me, it makes it look a little bit more high budget, a little bit more high quality, kind of more epic, because there's all of these more details and work put into it.
Okay.
But yeah, in Mulan, all the main characters, they don't have individual shading on different parts of their bodies. They just cast it onto the ground. That was a tangent. It doesn't really have to do with much. It's just behind the scenes technical stuff that I love about how animation works. And it's a cool thing to look at if you watch the movie again. You can spot which bits. The color palettes are pretty cool and interesting. There's a lot of sort of muted watercolor tones for, I think, what they're going for is an Asian aesthetic. Like a lot of Chinese paintings, the watercolor paintings, there's a lot of browns and grays and sort of earthy greens.
There is a lot of that in terms of, like, especially the environment,
Yeah.
where the watercolors sort of bring you into that feeling of, like, China, which is so weird why you'd feel that when you've never been in China.
Mm-hmm. And again, is that a representation of actual Chinese aesthetic, or is it hacking into our more Western perspective on it?
Exactly. I don't know. I need to talk to a Chinese person.
I know.
You talk to a Chinese person. Fuck.
But it works on me. It works on
No,
me.
he does. He does work. He does work. But it makes you wonder how much stuff you've sort of been ingratiated with through films and media that suddenly now you associate certain things with a certain culture in a certain place.
Yeah.
And it may not necessarily be true. And maybe it is true, and which makes it even more fantastic, where you go, oh, that's actually so fucking specific. Because I do know with Mulan, they did do a lot of location scouting before they...
Interesting.
So it is, I don't want to say accurate, but it is based on some research.
Yeah. Inspired by real things. Which I think you can tell with the villages and especially the palace. That looks like a lot of pictures that I've seen of the Forbidden Palace and things like that. But then there's stuff like there's at one point where they're traveling through the mountains and it's just these spike mountains shooting out of the ground and they all look like insane spikes.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that that's inspired by some real geography somewhere in China, but it looks so... I think it's probably stylized a bit because it looks so crazy.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And one thing that I was thinking was, speaking of Aladdin earlier, the genie
Yeah.
and Mushu,
Yep.
the two sidekicks, and how I do wonder how much Robin Williams' genie influenced how they wanted Mushu to be like.
Robin Williams' genie changed animated movies going forward because suddenly they realized, okay, we can hire a big name comedian, a name that everyone's going to know, and just let him go loose in the booth, and then we'll have a bunch of free gags that we can just use to animate over. That's what they did with Robin Williams. Most of the time, the voice lines are all recorded before the animation is finished, so then they can sync all the mouth movements up. But with Robin Williams, they got him in, let him riff for like hours. There's so much of him riffing crazy off-the-wall shit in the booth. And then they just sort of took chunks of that and put it in wherever they wanted.
Change the game.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
And now we're at a point where so many animated movies have celebrity stunt casting for what seems like no reason. Like, does anyone care that Mario is voiced by Chris Pratt? Is that bringing kids into the theater?
I don't know if kids know who Chris Pratt is. Maybe they do.
Maybe they do.
Their parents do.
Their parents do, but is that going to change their parents' minds? They're like, oh yeah, I love that Andy from Parks and Rec. It's good to see that he's
No,
Mario.
it's not Andy from Parks and Rec. It's Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, Star-Lord is in Garfield. I'll take my kid to see Garfield.
Garfield. That's okay. Not
You
the
thought
shit.
it was just Mario.
No, I forgot about Garfield.
No.
Of course. Not the shit on the current industry. Please hire me. For the love of God, please hire me. But it is disappointing to me to see a long tradition of voice actors, specifically voice actors, a historied tradition that is sort of being taken over in mainstream movies by celebrity stunt casting. I appreciate that Pixar tries to do, you know, how like Inside Out is mostly voiced up by SNL comedians.
Yes.
And it's not like they're just sticking Aquafina into every role, which can tend to happen sometimes. But there's less and less like real dyed-in-the-wool voice actors that are in the main parts these days.
Well, with AI, it's gonna be less and less. You might not even need. They might get to a point where you probably just need like one or two big names and have the rest AI.
I don't know. I think we're still a bit ways away from that.
No, but it's coming.
But I think you would still have to have a human do the voice acting and then just AI their voice.
Yeah, but
if
you've got years of material, you just train the AI.
I know.
You just said they've got hours of material for Robin Williams.
Yeah.
If you give that to the AI and be like, yo, learn this, and then you test it out, you keep improving it. I'm not saying it's going to happen next year. I'm not saying it's going to happen in 5 years' time, 10 years' time. It could happen in 25 years' time, where suddenly it just takes one AI voice, be like, let's see how that does. And maybe it'll be something you don't even notice at first. Then suddenly it'll be another one, then another one, then another. Then suddenly half the cast is AI. You didn't even realize, but you've been enjoying all these films that have had AI voices, and you didn't even realize.
I don't think I fully believe it's going to get to that point. I think there's going to be a few movies that are made with mostly AI, and people will be like, "Oh, that's interesting."
Because you're not thinking far enough.
I am thinking. I've thought about this.
50 years time. 50 years time.
50 years time.
We can get there. It can get.
I don't know. I know that AI is getting much better at recreating life and lifelike things, but Einstein at a Metallica concert, whatever the fuck it is.
Oh no! Forget this. This is nothing. This is doo-doo to what it's gonna be doing in 50 years time.
But it's gonna be better at
50.
It's gonna be better at seeming like real life, but it's still not gonna have the spark. And I believe this because of the fundamental nature about how generative AI works right now, in that it doesn't know things.
Right now.
But if things keep going down this road,
years.
there would have to be a completely new type of AI. If there is a new type of AI by then that is like sentient, then that's its own thing. But at that point, that's also another consciousness that I can be mad at and fight for roles and try to blow up. The way AI works right now, I don't see it ever fully replacing things because people get bored by it.
I think our generation, yes, for now, but you need to get to the point where it's a generation where an AI friend is the norm, where you grow up with AI and you're talking with it and it's completely normal and it doesn't even seem alien to you. To us, this seems alien. It seems alien because we know something else. You need to get to a point where people just know this. This is all they know. We know a world where social media didn't exist. But this kids right now, that social media, that's all they know. That is all that's all they've known.
Sure.
That's the point you need to get to. So when I say 50 years time, it's because people will be different. In 50 years time, we might be here, we might not. We'll be in our 70s, yo.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I just don't think that it's ever going to fully replace anything because there will still be enough people who can tell that there's a difference. Even if most of it is good enough for everyone. It's the same way with how movies are these days. Most movies are good enough to entertain people for an hour and a half, but someone can come out of a Fast and Furious movie and say, yeah, that was fun. I don't remember much about it. But then they see a movie that sticks in their consciousness, that is made with heart and soul and all this stuff. And that still makes an impact on people. There is a difference. And it's the difference between the mass consumer market and things that are striving to connect on a deeper level. I think there will still always be that difference.
Well, you can look at it even now, right? Where the highest grossing film of the year so far is Minecraft.
Sure.
And what else is coming? Sinners has done really well, but you need a film to be done so well to sort of enter the zeitgeist. And Minecraft is sort of happening because of children and parents going off with their kids watching it. I just feel as if you feed people enough junk food and they don't know anything else, junk food will become the norm.
I know what you're saying. I think I would like to give people a bit more credit than that. The Minecraft movie is extremely successful right now, but it's not like most people are going to see the Minecraft movie because they think the Minecraft movie is so good and an accurate representation of how Minecraft makes them feel. The Minecraft movie is a meme movie. It's what they tried to do with Morbius, but it's taken off. The way that it's just become this meme, how Jack Black doing a silly dance in the movie, or Chicken Jockey, or all this stuff. It's these little viral moments that people are reacting to, not the heart and soul of the Minecraft movie.
Well, it's you can look at it at music. Okay?
How do you mean?
Music right now, and I don't mean to shit on anybody, but what's like Sabrina Carpenter.
Okay.
I haven't listened to any Sabrina Carpenter.
Okay.
Okay? I haven't listened to any Sabrina Carpenter. But I know she's fucking popular.
Yeah.
I know she is.
Yeah.
Okay? I cannot listen to Sabrina Carpenter because I, personally, don't think it's good music.
Sure.
But when I look, even if I look at top 10 songs right now, it's some people I haven't even heard of.
Haven't heard of, will never hear about again.
You've got Jack Black, Steve's Love a Chicken is a top 10 song right now.
I know. It's like the shortest song to ever make the top 10 the UK.
But it goes back to what I was saying, what I've been saying the past couple of days of like, I've been listening to a lot of older music.
Yeah.
And I think I realized it today of like why I've been listening to like Aretha Franklin. I was like, oh, it's just better. I'm starving out for real quality music that's gonna make me feel something that's actually gonna be, that I can listen to and be like, this is fucking elite.
Sure.
How many people are actually listening to that?
I think that there's some elements of like survivorship bias and stuff. Aretha Franklin's great, but think about how many shitty B-grade Aretha Franklins there were back in the day that just never got remembered. I'll talk to my dad about music that was coming out in the 60s and 70s, and he was like, yeah, there was so much bullshit. It's not that music was better back then, it's that the best music survived.
Well, okay, but then that's the question. What's the best music now that we're still going to be listening to in 10, 15, 20 years' time?
The top of my head that's been in music lately, have you heard Miley Cyrus's new songs?
Miley Cyrus, yes.
Fucking awesome.
Yes.
And I can tell you, I'm going to be listening to Something Beautiful and End of the World for years. Those are just great songs.
Yes. Who else?
I don't know. I don't listen to a lot of mainstream music, but there's also so much indie stuff that comes up these days, and a lot of the indie stuff is pretty generic, and I forget about it, and then some of it I hold on to, and is really great. Caroline Polachek, I've heard some of her music lately, and she's really interesting. Pop stuff, but really well done pop stuff.
I don't know. Are we still recording?
Yeah. The point that I'm trying to get to is that, and I believe this about all art, is you can't survive on just Doritos.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But I'm just saying, if AI gets to the point where it isn't that good enough, people will accept it. And the only difference between you and me in this argument is that you're saying it's never going to get to that point. I'm saying in 50 years' time, it could get to the point where people are going to the AI and be like, that's actually pretty fucking good.
Maybe. I'm not even saying that it's never going to get to that point. If AI like that comes around, then that's a different game than what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, not what we're dealing with right now.
Sure. But basically, what I'm trying to say is that real human creativity is never going to go away entirely. You might get a bunch more Doritos out there, but people still need to eat real home cooked food every now and then. And no matter what, unless it's a completely different model of AI, if it's based on the same stuff that is around now and it's just continuations of that, it's still factory assembled food. It's McDonald's.
This AI isn't even the same AI that came out in 2021.
No, but it's based on the same structure. It's based on the same structure of basically just guessing what the most likely outcome of its input is. It doesn't know anything.
Yeah, but in the space of 4 years, it's already grown further. Because when it first came out, I looked at it and I was like, it's not there yet.
Yeah,
it's not even useful. Right now, it's useful.
Yeah.
And I know it's useful because loads of people use it. But in 50 years' time, if you're talking about new type of AI, new type of AI, because people will invest in it, they'll keep researching it, they'll keep trying to improve it, because that's human nature. We know this. People want to get the next best thing. They're not even going to be satisfied with what it is right now. They're going to be like, how can we make it better? How can we even use it in different ways? How can we... And the Academy allowing AI to be used in movies.
God.
That's the beginning right there. That is literally the beginning. You're going to get an AI actor nominated for a fucking film, and he's going to be... They'll accept the fucking award on the screen, and we'll clap.
At which point I will enact my plan on the Oscars that I will not go into details on.
And be like, what the fuck have we entered in that we're clapping for a fucking computer on a fucking screen that's not even alive? And he'll be the best actor ever.
I don't know about that.
Because it was still everyone's performances.
I get what you mean. I'm cynical enough to believe that could happen. But that is not ever going to completely replace real human creativity. The bridge...
No, it would just be something new. It would be something new. It would be something new.
Sure.
Human creativity will go away in the zeitgeist and will enter a new sphere of human... We've gone way past Mulan.
I know, but this is all connected. I don't... sure, we can move past this point right now, but...
You know what? I hope you keep all of this in.
Oh, no, I will. This is good shit.
Keep all of it in. And I'm mad, but we're going to end it there.
Briefly, I just want to go after, because this kind of came out of me talking about the voice actors and the trends that are replacing them these days.
Yes.
This movie doesn't really have any big celebrity stunt casting, aside from Eddie Murphy, which was top billing, the big draw. The rest of the cast...
I think Lion King had a lot of people, though, with Whoopi Goldberg, James Earl Jones,
Matthew Broderick. What's the kid's name? Not Sean William Scott. Thomas Hayden. One of those three named pretty boys from the 90s.
Jeremy Irons.
Oh, yeah.
Aladdin, I can't think. Who's in Aladdin?
Gilbert Gottfried and Robin Williams.
That's it. Who's in Beauty and the Beast?
Beauty and the Beast was before they started doing the celebrity thing. That's when they were still basically drawing on exclusively voice actors.
Who's in Little Mermaid?
Again, basically explicitly voice actors. Jodie Benson is Ariel, but I only know Jodie Benson because she played Ariel. She's amazing, but I only know her. She's not celebrity stunt casting or anything.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the stunt casting is to get people to watch the film, but if people... I think if you go down towards the recognizable IP, then you won't need stunt casting, which can lead to the fucking AI shit. Like fucking the remake of Lion King. When they remake it again,
God,
it might just be AI voices. All I'm saying is, it goes the path of like, how can we make this cheaper, easier, and make the most profit out of it? Because stunt casting, you have to pay a lot of celebrities a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that I'm not saying it won't be sustainable, but you might just find a cheaper way of doing it.
Maybe. Again, I'm not even sure how much celebrity stunt casting really does to bring people into a movie, aside from a little bit of familiarity.
I mean, okay, so you said Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
I don't think Garfield did that well.
No.
Mario did well because it transcends generations.
Yeah, because it's Mario. It doesn't matter who's playing Mario. People would have still gone to see it. But at the same time, I probably would have gone to see Inside Out, even if it wasn't Amy Poehler and a bunch of SNL folks that I love.
But you're not even going to see Inside Out because of them.
Not because of them, no. Because it's Pixar. Because
Yeah.
it's this amazing... great new
Exactly.
concept.
Pixar is its own brand. I'll stop there.
Okay.
I'll stop there.
The voice actors in Mulan, great talents. Ming-Na Wen, who's obviously gone on to do some great stuff.
She's in her 60s now.
And she still looks great.
I know.
Still-
Asian don't crack. Asians and Africans, yo, we need to get together, yo. Bring those genes together. I want our cultures to just unite. And I know there's beef for I don't know why, but let's just unite. Just unite.
Wu-Tang. B.D. Wong plays Li Shang from the Jurassic Park movies and Mr. Robot.
Is it Mr. Robot?
Yeah, he's the villain.
Is it?
Yeah, not Benedict Wong, B.D. Wong.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the Jurassic Park. He even shows up in Jurassic World.
Yeah,
Ah.
he's the villain, Mr. Robot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And he plays Li Shang as well.
Yeah,
Shout out him, yo.
he's a great actor.
Shout out him.
We got, again, Harvey Fierstein, who's been in other stuff. He was in Mrs. Doubtfire, all sorts of stuff over the years. The Lehman trilogy, he was one of the originators of that, I believe. Getty Watanabe plays Ling. I don't know who that is. Singing voice provided by Matthew Wilder, who, you know, the song, Ain't nothing gonna break my stride, ain't nothing gonna slow me down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that.
That the guy who made that song sings Ling's part in Mulan. It's a mostly Asian cast in this movie, which I know Disney was trying to focus on to, you know, provide cultural authenticity as much as they could with the casting. Got George Takei up in there. You got James Hong. Again, Miguel Ferrer as Shan Yu. But then you've also got some classic voice acting royalty. You've got Frank Welker, the voice of Scooby-Doo and Fred Jones. He plays Mulan's horse, he plays Cricky, and he is one of the random Han soldiers. He's renowned for his animal sounds. He was kind of like what Alan Tudyk is now. How whenever Disney's like, we need a chicken Alan Tudyk in here. Miriam Margolyes, who's a famous British actor. She's shown up in everything. She's the matchmaker. Pat Morita.
She's not Asian.
Miriam, no, not everyone is. Frank Welker is not Asian either. But again, these are just voice acting legends. Pat Morita, not a voice acting legend, but Mr. Miyagi himself, the teacher of the Karate Kid. You got to see the Karate Kid at some point. He's the emperor.
I've seen it. I told you I didn't like it when I saw it.
No, you haven't seen the original.
No, I've seen the original. I thought
You
it
have?
was boring. Yeah, I thought it was boring.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why I watched the Jaden Smith one. Because
okay. You're hoping it wasn't boring?
I don't know what I was hoping for. It was just, you know. He's Will Smith's son.
Yeah. Jackie Chan's great.
Oh! I watched it because of Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
Because I love Jackie Chan.
But anyway, we got the original Pat Morita in here. The last one I want to talk about is June Foray, who plays Mulan's grandma, who is just legendary. Rocky, the flying squirrel from Rocky and Bullwinkle. Grandma from Looney Tunes cartoons. So many Looney Tunes voices. She's legendary. Amazing. Yeah, that's all. Great voice actors in this.
Wow, I don't know how long that is.
Just over 2 hours.
And half of that is the conversation we had about AI.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't seen Mulan, I don't know why not.
Yeah, watch it.
It's one of the best Disney animated films of all time. It's a classic. Watch it with your daughter, watch it with your younger sister, watch it with your older sister.
Hell, watch it with your son.
Yeah. You have fun. It's powerful, it's got a strong message. And it's, yeah, I can't speak highly enough of it. But that's it for this week. Catch us on YouTube, Spotify, if you've listened all the way to the end. And whatever other platforms we may be on where you listen to your podcast, I'm guessing Max knows. He's nodding along, yes. And we'll be back next week with, no, I'm going to tease it right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to tease it right now. It's Tron. Not Tron Legacy. Not Tron Ares, because it hasn't come out yet. Tron, the original.
And according to Tawana, the first shot has been fired.
It has been fired. And if you're not aware, you will find out what we mean in the next episode. But in the meantime, stay blessed. I don't know why that came out like that. Stay blessed.
Stay blessed.
Stay sad. What's going on? What is going on right now?
I don't know.
Stay blessed. Stay safe. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Wu-Tang for life.